Hello and welcome to Talking Dogs on a Monday. And of course, today we are talking Ledger, the matchbook betting exchange. Irish St. Ledger kicked off at Limerick last Thursday evening with 6 heats, 10 heats on Saturday. We had 16 heats in all. And yet, here we are. No messing around, 3 to qualify. We're down to 48, 8 heats next Saturday night. Straight into it, Tommy. Great competition. Sorry, I must introduce you. The exiled dub, Tommy Lyons. And of course, Limerick's version of Joe Dolan, Joe Sheahan. All bluster, a little bit of talent, and a man that's certainly not afraid to talk dogs. Gentlemen, you're very welcome. Tommy, starting straight away, fastest round, our first fastest run, should I say, of the opening round, Scarty Yank. Not a surprise that he produced a big run. He's a very, very fast greyhound, but really did set the tone.
He did, yeah. And you know what? Just in the overall terms, it was great to see that it needed so many heats and they had to be spread across 2 days because again, it's building on from the laurels and from what we had in the Derby, which was outstanding. So it's a high quality ledger. I'm sure Joe will be able to tell you about the last number of ledgers and how good they were. But this looks really deep, and it was nice to see that performance. Probably not the time to talk about it, but it's very difficult to equate the times on Thursday night against Saturday night. Was there a difference? I don't know. Maybe Joe will have an insight to that. But Scarty Yank. There wasn't a surprise in the run itself, but it was nice to see such a good time, 29.49. It kind of set the standard for what we knew by just looking at the cards anyway. It's really high quality, which is the most important thing.
Yeah, Joe, we saw a lot of big names go out. There's no point in denying it. A lot of big names went out, but I suppose it's testament to the quality of this year's ledger. When you look through the 8 heats for the second round, there's still so much quality there. And, perhaps the 3 or 4 massive names that you were expecting to go all the way are still there.
Yeah, absolutely. And, year in, year out, sometimes you see these outs come in with big names, big reputations. And that's the beauty of greyhound racing, the unpredictability of all. And that's what gives us all such a thrill when we get to the races and see this top class action. It's brilliant to see. And of course, we must give a massive mention to Matchbook Betting Exchange, and fair play to credit all involved working with them and bringing them on as a sponsor this year. It's wonderful to see a new sponsor. It's fantastic prize money. And down in Limerick, we're very, very proud of our ledger down here. And to see that action, and as you said, Scarty Yank got the ball rolling, 29.49. I remember when he ran into Kirby back in March or April, he ran so well. And I clocked him coming home that time, 12.11 from the third bend home. And that's really, really moving. And I think the Scarty Yank will have a massive, massive shout to play. And I think it's very noteworthy that he was the first heat winner and he kind of set the tone and set the bar for what the action that was to come. So great to see that happening.
He also does set the standard in a sense where you get an idea of his clock home. Like he does 17.34 to the third bend. There were dogs that went faster. Well, not too many, of course, but there were dogs that went faster to that third bend, and yet he is coming home with such a lick. 17.34, 29.49. So what is it, 12, 15, that's big running. We know from past experience doing this for the Kirby last year's ledger, Tommy, that he's very, very strong. Of course, you still have the doubts. He's a good trapper. Just at 50 yards into the corner, you worry, but there's no question it was a marker. We will talk about, well, perhaps the biggest run of the entire round was on the Saturday night. Explosive Boy was turned over, but he was turned over in fine style. Tommy, from the start, was there anything on Thursday night that really caught your eye outside the Scarty Yank?
Well, yeah, what caught my eye maybe was that maybe it being the time of the year and the whole lot, maybe the fresher dogs might come to the fore, like Scarty Yank, who missed a bit of time there between his early season exploits, and then you had Park Blake, as you kind of alluded to, doing the big run, dog that we haven't seen an awful lot of. He's obviously must have maybe had some sort of minor issues that have kept him off the track, but clearly he's ridiculously talented. I watched Thursday night's racing. I thought a couple of them that won, but I watched them kind of uncomfortably. Never knew that they were. I had a couple of bets, and I was watching. Was like Deadly Cavani. I thought that would win. It won, and I'd say it's the type of dog that will improve a good bit for it. I thought that run. Glengar Bale ran very well. I thought. Ballymacwild, there was great to see. He was desperately unlucky in the semi-finals of the Laurels. Should have been a finalist in the Laurels, really and truly. I'd say Dylan Brennan is still ruined that one. But that was fabulous to see that he's back to his best. Gunboat Showman, there was a fine performance because I thought Ballymacarty had the best of the draw in that heat. and had the early pace, was on the right side of Deadly Destroyer. Now, Deadly Destroyer was a little bit unlucky. His race was he was in trouble from a very early stage. He's got a bit of a bump and whatever else. But Gumbo Showman, that was a nice performance, 29.72, beating Ballymac Arc quite comprehensively. And then, of course, we had the real hot heat on Thursday night, Sing Along Sally. The box knocked her out of the Laurels, which even though she had done 2 massive runs in the first 2 rounds of the Laurels, it was never really going to be her race, was it? A sharp 5.25. This is more like it for her, and that was a good competitive race. It was a shame to see Epic Hero getting knocked out, but I think you have news on him. He's perfectly fine. Is that what we're hearing?
Yeah, we're hearing that he is perfectly fine. The defending champion, unfortunately, didn't get a chance really to defend his title. Faithful Terry also hit the deck in that contest, but by all accounts, I believe he's going to be right as rain in the future. Joe, Pat Buckley had a treble on the night. It's been a happy hunting ground for Pat over the years, Limerick, and he has 3 or 4 greyhounds that can certainly go well into the latter stages of the competition. Of course, the treble on Thursday night being evidence of the fact.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember Pat went in the Ledger actually a number of years ago at Paradise Hill, and Limerick is his local track, and he's been so successful with track. When we see his 3 Kirby successes as well, I was really delighted to see Glengar Bale winning, because he was kind of a greyhound who showed, when he done that 29.15 run in the Derby, was it last year? He's a phenomenal greyhound, and then he just kind of slightly went off the boil a bit. So it was kind of heartwarming to see him coming back to his former self. The clock was 29.60 when Mel announced it. I thought it was 29.16. I was like, whoosh, but because that's the kind of run you know that the likes of Glengar Bale could do. So it was a really, really fantastic performance. And Sing Along Sally, my God, she is just unbelievable.
Yeah, there's no question she is a star. Just going back to Glengar Bale there just for a moment. He was a dog that, last year just looked a real, perfectly sort of 550-yard dog, ideal Derby type dog. Again, just look not quite on his side this year, as you say, was a little bit off the boil. They stepped him up to 750 yards. Now, I'm a great exponent for staying races. I'd be all about staying races. I raised my eyebrow at this one. I know it's there in the pedigree and the dam side, Druby Smasher, but he never struck me as a dog that wanted 750. He's never a dog that struck me that wanted 575 or 600 yards, but we did see with Price's Jet in the Corncullen, you get them on the bunny a couple of nights, and I know he was getting picked up each and every round of the Cambridgeshire down at Limerick, but he did get a look at Limerick from the front, got a bit of confidence in against dogs, and while he wasn't staying, he did run okay in when he stepped back and tripped for the Laurels. But here we are on the Ledger, and this 550-yard trip around Limerick is probably his ideal distance, Tommy. Just wouldn't be a dog I'd dismiss too lightly now in this Ledger.
Well, when he was in front anyway, it was all over. That's all I knew on Thursday night. Look, he went from 750s, would you rightly say, stretched his stamina, and then he went back to the Laurels, which would be almost the exact bar going for the bar 1 sprint in Dundalk. Is pretty much the next sharpest thing really in the country, like the Fair Wire and
there's 2 extremes. Like you're going from stamina test to the ultimate speed test for 4 Ben Greyhounds.
Yeah, exactly. And now he's back to where he wants to be. And then it was a smashing run. Look, I don't know whether he'd be able to do it week in, week out, and particularly getting around in front would be a bit of an issue against some of the sharper dogs over the course of the Leisure. But it was nice to see that run, as Joe said, because we do like to see those dogs with top class ability producing big runs like that. As I say, I didn't come away thinking, you know what, I think he's going to win a Ledger now or anything like that, but it was encouraging. And to see Pat Buckley's dogs in such good form Thursday night as well as that. And I think Sing Along Sally, to be fair, I don't think she was at her very best the other night, which I was really encouraged by. If you know what I mean. I think there was plenty left to work on.
Dearjet Sydney ran a fine race in defeat as well, Joe.
Yeah, he absolutely did. And look at his trial, because obviously he won the English Derby, and I just kind of thought this year, was he kind of slightly, as he progressed with age, was he kind of losing his form of it? Then he comes out and does a 28.19 trial, was it the week before the first round, which is absolutely phenomenal run. So great to see. It's great. Like, there's such massive names in this competition. It's great to see, the likes of Ballymac Wild as well. There's so many big names. It's great. And I was there Thursday night. It was just really a privilege to be there to witness these fantastic athletes in action. And great to see the crowds coming back as well. I suppose it's the first time we've had a real big crowd in Limerick since prior to COVID and all that. So it's great to see so many old familiar faces that we hadn't seen. And of course, people that we've lost in the last 18 months as well. It's nice to remember those people as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to have the crowds back, and especially for big events, as you say, and hopefully plenty of big crowds to come in the coming weeks. Just want to touch there on Glengar Bale, 17.29, Joe. That stacks up well to the third bend. It's right up there with the very fastest in the competition.
Absolutely, and it's definitely not surprising because even in his 750 race, he was clocking 28:21, and I think it was 12:90 was his first split as well. So he's a dog that can really, if he can, as you said, he can get out in the bunny, he can really, really move. He can start and stay. And this Glengar Bale, as you said, he's got out in the bunny a few times. Maybe he's been a bit rejuvenated by that. And he's certainly a greyhound who has the capabilities and the ability. And I wouldn't be surprised if Glengar Bale goes a long, long way in this competition, Ian, for sure.
We'll just race through the rest of the Thursday there. We mentioned Scarty Yank, 29:49 from the front. Very impressive. The first run for Pat Buckley, of course. We forgot to mention that. Second heat went to Deadly Cavani. It was a muddling type affair. I'm sure there's better to come from Deadly Cavani. Grangeview Mags went up well, but she ultimately got knocked out. Burgess Cassie. Razzle Dazzle Annie ran a big race in third, actually, but she'd be well used to the place. Neely O'Connell, of course, just down the road. Glengar Bale impressed. Worth pointing out, probably a race where there wasn't much early speed. No question about it. Ballymac Belvolt was in 4, edging inwards, showed very little early again, ran on to grab third in the line. All for the best, a very strong greyhound. Got held up around the opening 2 bends. He's a dog that might just keep progressing, but probably doesn't have the early speed, probably wants a longer run to the bend to make his early speed count. Just probably not sharp enough for it, but at the same time, so strong, he might keep qualifying. At Ballymac Wild, we touched upon behind him, Salmic Sunset and Sweep the Yard, 2 dogs that certainly know their game. The next heat, Gunboat Showman, Tommy, you touched upon this. Very impressive winner, 287, 539, 1736. Stands up there with the rest of them. It's 1865 trial, Joe. That's good running around Limerick.
Around Limerick, that's some moving. And it's worth noting that Gunboat Showman, he was actually up on sale on Greyhound Data. And he's still in Sean Kenny's ownership, so obviously there was no sale. And that was some run, 29.72. He's been a great servant for Sean Kenny. And to do that kind of run, the first round of Ledger, it's a real big run, and I'm sure he's going to have lots and lots of fun with him. Could go along, probably not one of the more likely winners, but still, you just never know. He could go a long way in the competition, and great fun dog for all connections there.
Tommy, you mentioned Deadly Destroyer. Once again, his tendency just to take that step right at boxes was cost him. He's a dog that if he even if his first 3 strides are straight and then starts turning, he's going to win. And look at more races than he already has. He's 10 now from 28 wins, but just in the big night and the nights that count, he just takes that step right, takes a bump at boxes, and that's his race done.
He broke in front as well. Do you know what I mean? And when you think, you know what, go on now, you'll go and do a big run here. As I said to you, I backed Ballymac Art on the basis that I thought that might happen with Deadly Destroyer. Ballymac Art get the free run, but that was a huge performance by Gunboat Showman. I was impressed with that. It is a pity because we all know how good Deadly Destroyer is and can be. So it's just a shame that he has a tendency to give it away a little bit.
He is a greyhound, Deadly Destroyer, that is made for Limerick. He's a good starter. He stays as strongly. The long run back straight would really suit him. It's just such a shame. Moving on to the final heat on Thursday evening, we touched upon it. Sing Along Sally, so impressive, and yet gave the impression there was better to come. Dear Jet Sydney, a fine run from him. And Romeo Magico, a dog who definitely has the ability. We're waiting for it to fully click with him, Tommy. He's a dog that's going to need to be out in front. On this occasion, he got away with it. Got around the traffic on the opening corner and got himself into a qualifying position. But he's one that you wouldn't be laying at a big price, shall we say, given the fact that it's sponsored by a betting exchange, because you know what he's capable of.
Yeah, look, he's a dog which we've spoken about at length. We saw some big runs. Was it in Clonmel earlier in the year? And then, you go from one huge run to kind of, missing the kick, getting a bit of trouble. I think he's just that type of dog. Maybe that was his bad luck the other day in one sense, that he missed it, never really got involved, but did well to qualify. And maybe we'll see a different dog next week. Not in my short list, I have to say.
Yeah. Moving on. Saturday night. Let's just straight in. We're done straight into that run. Heat 10. Part Blake, Una Creed, Mary O'Connor. It was a hell of a week for the Creeds. They had the bitch that was second in the English Oaks. They bred her, Ritzy Lady. They had a cracking winner down at Shelburne Park in 28.55. And I believe they had a winner in Clonmel the other evening as well. So it's been a great week for them. This Part Blake, I have to tell you, caught me unawares. Seemed to catch a few people unawares. He was 12-1, Joe, but this was a seriously impressive run. 17.15 to that third bend. That's right up there with the very, very best. Yeah,
and as you said, Ian, big week for the Creeds, and it's worth noting as well, it's a home bred, so it's a phenomenal achievement to not only have a greyhound to do 29.51 the first round of Ledger, but to be a home bred as well. Great to see. And it really caught me by surprise. On paper, I had some good runs, had a 28.76 winning Clonmel, and See a 29.51 run and one of the fastest runs of the opening round of a classic competition like the Ledger. Could you see that coming out of on paper? Probably not, but my God, to beat and had a fair buckle with Explosive Boy. They both had a fair crack at the whip, but Park Blake, my God, some performance. And as you said, a 12-1, he's definitely not going to be 12-1 next Saturday night, that's for sure.
Yeah, sometimes, Tommy, you look at these results, Explosive Boy turned over in second, you go, the race must have fallen into the lap of Park Blake. This was just a classy display. Away and gone, 279. I believe only one greyhound went faster in the opening round, 5:28 sizzling, and 17:15, 29:51. Just a really taking display. I've used this before, this analogy. If you're dropped in, you haven't seen the dogs racing before, he's the dog you're going to take out of the opening round.
Yeah, but it came as a surprise because in any of his runs prior to that, you didn't see him doing a 279. I didn't see him doing a 279. And then you thought, well, Explosive Boy would definitely lead him. There's no question about it. And you can't see anything picking up Explosive Boy if he leads. So to do a 279, and maybe that'll be him now. Maybe that's just him. He's going to do 279 on a regular basis. I'd like to see next week. That'll tell a different story. He's drawn out in 3 or 4 in next week's heat. That'll tell us whether he's a genuine Ledger dog or not. Because I do think that there is a case to be made for the fresh dogs, or maybe the younger dogs, less experienced, that just at this time of year. But what I loved about the performance, he did move a little bit right actually early. What I loved about the performance. And this is nothing to do with clocks. This is just on the eye. I have no idea whether it was any better or worse than anybody else. From halfway, or a little before halfway to the third bend, he just seemed to take a couple of lengths out of Explosive Boy in just strides. Now, maybe Explosive Boy's best running isn't from 2 to 3 or something, but I just loved, just purely to the eye, watching it live. I was thinking, my God, that's some turn of pace down the back straight. So you said the section. Was that the best section down to the third bend?
Oh yeah, I'd say by a good mark, by a couple of lengths, Joe, was it?
5:28 as well for the opening section, and from what I can see, that looks to be the best, and it's massive. To do that in the first round of Ledger, it's just phenomenal. It's really, and I know Graham Holland is training, and I know it's very well bred and all that, but when you're taking on the best of the best, and literally the best of the best, to do that kind of run is just phenomenal, and I think he's probably justifiably gone into one of the favourites probably for the competition after a run like that.
Yeah, like it was a good heat. It wasn't just Explosive Boy. Like, you had Night Tornado in there, knocked the Bull Seed. You had good dogs in the heat, and like, you had to do everything right, we thought. And maybe there's just a possibility. Now, obviously, we'll know more next week. There's just a possibility that is just the tip of the iceberg with this dog.
Yeah, I do want to mention Explosive Boy in second spot. I don't think you'd be disappointed with him if you owned him or trained him. Pat was certainly not going to have him overly wound up. He has been off since the Derby. I can't imagine he's been kept overly busy. Listen, there's a reason why he was 6-1 favourite for the competition. Half the price of his nearest rival. He's still there, and I'd fully expect to see him in the latter stages, if not favourite in the final. That's for another day. Ran well in second spot, lost nothing in defeat. He's doing 29.61. It puts him up there right as one of the fastest dogs in the opening round of the competition. A dog in third caught my eye, not for the first time in recent weeks. Sentimental Lad. I have him held up first and second, fifth back straight. He ran on like an absolute train. He was right on top of them to the escape. It was an unbelievably eye-catching run. He's beaten 6.5 lengths, but I'll tell you one thing, I'll be keeping an eye on him in the coming weeks.
Yeah, and he had a 29.57 win in Shelburne as well. So, and I know he was 10-1 the other night, but I definitely I'd him in the notebook as well. Very, very eye-catching run to come from where he came and stayed on very, very, very well.
Interesting to see how it'll be priced after this, because if you took Park Blake out of that heat, and you said that Explosive Boy did what he did and did the clock that he did in what was it, 29.61 he did in defeat, you'd be saying, do you know what? He's now probably 3-1 chance to win the Leisure. That was a perfect start to the competition. Explosive Boy didn't look as sharp as usual in the first 25 yards. He'll get that.
We're going to talk about another dog or two that didn't look as sharp in the first 25 yards as they can be. One in particular, but we'll get to that in a few moments. Elsewhere on the card on Saturday night, Joe, what did catch your eye? Was there one in particular, or was there a couple that you want to mention?
But before we move on, I'd like to say about Tommy's point. Tommy makes a brilliant point about greyhounds who've had a very, very long campaign this year, who've been in all the classic competitions, and he makes a very noteworthy point. Sometimes it's worth siding with maybe the more unexposed types, those who haven't been in, haven't been overly campaigned and haven't ran too many races this year. And there's some nice, unexposed, lightly raced types coming into this competition. And that's the beauty of this ledger. There's a fantastic mix of the experienced dogs, the likes of Ballymac Wild, the likes of Deirdre Sydney's, but also the likes of Park Lake there, those unexposed kind of types. And some greyhounds have had a long campaign, and maybe that will tell kind of in the latter stages of the competition for sure. But
that's a perfect segue. You know why? Because that's exactly what happened in the Laurels. One Time Only was the dog that was coming in off the back of a layoff, a couple of return runs. And here we are, 9 days on from his Laurel success. And One Time Only was an impressive winner of Heat 13. Perhaps not the crash bang wallop we saw in Cork, Tommy. I'm sure he hasn't been off the bench since that Laurel success, but a very pleasing first round effort in Heat 13 for Tommy O'Donovan, who of course saw his defending champion Epic Hero going out on Thursday evening. It would have been a nice fill up for him to see One Time Only getting around that opening corner, clearing Minor Droopy and going on to win in 29.73. Nothing wrong with it, Tommy. Good start to his Ledger campaign.
Perfectly good. And the beauty of it was the Stories Pee-wee finished second. He's a dog I like a lot, actually. Very strong. Thought again, he really pushed him hard. He forced One Time Only to pull out the stops a bit, I think. And I think I was encouraged a lot by the fact that he was able to do that One Time Only. So, yeah, I'd be delighted with that. Absolutely delighted with that. From
the commentary box in Shelbourne Park, I was trying to keep an eye on it, and there's so much going on, Joe, that I was sort of going after the race going, gee, that was okay. It was kind of working like I was only, when you look back at it over the weekend, you go, Jeannie, that was Stories Pee-wee coming from behind him. He still beats him a length from where he was off the last bend. God, that was a good run by One Time Only. A lovely start to his Ledger campaign.
It was a good run, and he's been a dog kept on the go there. Obviously, won the Laurels in fantastic style, and one time, remember, he ran into Kirby as well. Probably wasn't at his peak back then, but he won one of his novice races in 28.40 in the Juvenile Classic in Tralee, and that showed from a very early days. It's One Time Only is real heavy contender for all the competitions, and we see that coming to the forefront in the Laurels, and great to see him win. But as you said, Tommy Stories Pee-wee, massive run by him, and great to see Gavin O'Mahony with a good dog as well. He's a fantastic sport of greyhound racing, a good sponsor down in Kilkenny, so great to see him and Murtley have one with a real life contender at the Ledger. So I'm not going to put the mockers on him, but every time I say he's going to go deep in the competition, it'll be hard to keep out of frame. He gets knocked out the next week, so I'm going to say nothing more about Stories Pee-wee except he's a big finisher. We know that. Hugely fast dog. Minor Droopy ran a perfectly fine race in third spot. One Time Only, Tommy did a 284. He did a 323 in the Laurels Decider. If he repeats that 323 type run around Limerick, he's doing a late 270s, isn't he?
Yeah, mid to late 270s, what I would equate 323 to. It's like we have seen a sub 320, but like it's exceptional once in the blue moon stuff. So that's about that run in the final is close to as sharp as you'll get, like as good as you'll get in the Ledger as well. So and like the trip is clearly no problem to me either. That's another encouraging thing about the run. I thought, do you know who I thought actually ran a superb race in the previous heat? Love her run. That was a nice performance. Jacob Tashdale, he absolutely walked out of the traps. I watched the race and I kind of there was a lot going on, right? And I was kind of watching the race and not really realising. And I went, geez, who's that one dog? He really attacked that first bend, and that's, if you can do that in Limerick, it's a huge advantage. I said, geez, that's a good dog. I looked it up and Jacob Tashdale, now I see. But he just walked out, did a 3 something in sections. It was diabolical, really. He didn't. Still don't think he's going to win a Ledger, but I tell you, it was a fair run in defeat, wasn't it?
Yeah, don't be saying that now, Tommy. I dipped into a bit of, I think it was 19 on the match betting exchange. I had me a couple of quid on. Jacob Tashdale, Joseph. A 305. At 305. Here's a dog that it would be no surprise to anyone if he did a 275, and he's doing a 305, but he showed real pace and determination to get back into the qualifying positions. He's beaten 6 lengths in the finish, but you can just sort of put it out in the window. It was a hell of a run by Jacob Tashdale, but this lower run, he just looked right at home around Limerick, didn't he? And again, not overly raced, 15 starts on his card prior to Saturday, a January 19, so not overly raced, little mileage on the clock. It was the type of run now that just catch the eye. Absolutely, and he's an 87-pound dog, so he's a massive dog. So when you have a dog that size, it can take a long time for those greyhounds to peak. Perhaps they have more longevity. They can keep on for longer. But big unit like ourselves, Joe. Big unit like ourselves.
But Jacob Tashdale, as you said, remember his early days in Tralee in the Juvenile Classic, and even in the Kirby here, and then he also ran the Sean O'Connor Cup. He was known for his early pace, and perhaps that to be staying. And then he wins a 5.75 down, I think it was down in Cork. And now I suppose, as the old greyhound men might say, the dogs stay better with age. And I think he's a prime example of that. And he's definitely, as you said, he's a life contender. And Conguiney, he knows how to train his greyhounds. He's a very, very shrewd operator. And I think he could be one to go a long way in this competition for sure.
Yeah, I think when you're looking for a line for Jacob Tasha, like you look at that opening round effort and the second round effort in the Derby, Tommy, it was just it was ledger type running. You know what I mean? Perfectly fast starter, get to the corner, has all the pace down the back straight, and it's not the longest run in Limerick, so it should really suit him.
Yeah, I don't think I'd like to see him over 5.75 again, personally.
No. I think that's enough to do with it. I'd say that's probably why he slept the traps a little bit. I'd say he's gone, do you know what? Let's just give it another week. You know what I mean?
Yeah, look, he's immensely talented. I got it wrong with one time only in the Laurels. I said he wasn't going to win at one stage and changed my mind in the final. So maybe I'll change my mind again. But I just don't see him winning it. I'm sorry with your bet on Matchbook. But that said, he's definitely in the group of maybe top 6 or 8 dogs in the competition. That's how deep the competition is. Top 6 or 8 dogs who are capable of doing it.
Yeah, no question about that. Tommy, given a narrative over the last year, we have to mention our old pal Scooby Princess. A great week for the bitches again. Billy's Diva won the English Oaks across the water for the Kennedy family. What a star she is. No luck for Skywalker. Scylla on the night, she probably had a little chance. There was an absolute quagmire up the middle of the track. Billy's Diva in a lovely position. Picked up the aforementioned Ritzy Lady, who was bred by the Creed, started her racing career around Clonmel. Scooby Princess, just... there's no words, Tommy. She's on the go since, she's on the go since I've been on the go, it seems. She avoided Blast Off Harry on the opening corner, who sort of drifted off. She got around him. Once doing so, she was never going to be beaten. Price's Jet ran a big race in second. We've seen his liking for Limerick in the past. And back in third, Hazel Hill Hazard, should I say, ran a fine race in defeat. He had some really strong runners in against them. And to be only beaten 4.5 lengths by Scooby Princess is a fine run, but she is a very special lady.
Look at her. She's been on the go since you've been on the go. She hasn't been up to much, so she's very fresh for the ledger ahead. I was just glad to see Billy Diva win. I just go back to her for a second because I don't think she had won as much as she deserved to have won in Ireland. She had won finals, but I'm delighted for her because, as I've said a lot over the last year, she's one of my favourite greyhounds, if not my favourite greyhound in training. It's terrific to see her win. Scooby Princess, this race didn't disappoint. It did look a match on paper. To my mind, between Scooby Princess and Price's Jet. Price's Jet did what he does. He's a wide seeder, and then he moves inside to make a run, and he does all these sort of things. Has loads of pace. He's probably been slightly below his very best for the last while. I think that's fair, is it? Maybe a couple of lengths, maybe just below it, slightly. Yeah,
I think he had a problem during the Derby. I think they were trying to get him right and whatnot. But he was a Derby semi-finalist, so he didn't do too bad.
Oh no, he's not too bad. We talked about his talents a number of times. But Scooby Princess, she just ran another cracking race. She went up well, and she had a dog that broke actually quickly inside her, which kind of made it a little bit tougher for her. And yet she overcame it. She's just a terrific bitch.
Yeah, for Jennifer O'Donnell and Steve Noble, it was a hell of a night because they had Scooby Duchess winning the semi-finals of the Puppy Oaks at Shelburne Park in 28-10. She's obviously a natural heir to the crown that is Scooby Princess's. But at the same time, Princess doesn't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon, Joe. She's just one of those, battle-hardened, hugely strong, very talented lady that we've seen performing so well over the last year and a half in Ireland.
She has a massive, massive engine. And I remember back in the Limerick Oaks, because she won it back in May, she did 11.93 coming home. That is phenomenal. It's probably one of the fastest runs ever from the third bent home. And she came home in 12.17 the other night. She starts, she stays. She has it all. She's a phenomenal bitch. And as you said, on a normal year, she would probably be the best bitch in the country, but because we have such a fantastic crop of bitches, it's just wonderful to see. And as you said, Price's Jet back in second, but back in third, and belonged to a good friend of mine, Hazel Hill Hazard, for young Michael O'Connell. He's from Mesquite, he's a Limerick man, and to have her under the ledger, he is absolutely buzzing. I was chatting to him there yesterday. And
we knew Mesquite and they get a mention, Tommy. We knew it. We absolutely knew it.
I'm like Barry there and ask him, can you mention you all somehow?
I'm nearly as bad as Barry Drake now going on about you all. But Hazel Hazard, he actually won in 29.79 in one of the nights of the tri-distance there back in Limerick a number of months ago. And he's a dog who can move, and he progresses into the second round. And it's great to see, the local people have some live contenders as well, the likes of Ballyard and Rowley. who some people might have left out of their equations when assessing the first round of Ledger, but we might say no more about that. It was very impressive for the Scanlon family as well, winning in 29.84. So great to see some of the local people have dogs with live contenders who could go a long way in the competition too.
I knew off air that you were going to get into that. And I like him, Tommy. I gave him a right good plug in the Laurels, the early rounds of it. I thought it was a hell of a run the other night by a Ballyard and Rowley. We might as well move on to him. Is it Rowley or Raleigh? Because Rowley to me would be Roly, whereas Raleigh is LLY. But all I know, it was a hell of a run. My partner in crime in the Matchbook podcast, the Lily White Assassin, fancy Barjo lad, he flashed out. He had every chance in the front, but still ran a fine race in the feet. But just the wheels came off somewhat off the final turn. But Ballyedel and Raleigh was close enough, and he hammered up the home straight. So do to Kill a Balance Psycho. But a fine run for the Scannons, as you say. And judging by their presence on social media, they were absolutely chuffed and delighted to be into the second round, especially on the back of a fantastic success.
Yeah, they're fantastic. They're a fantastic greyhound family, and it's wonderful to see that they live in Ballingarry, just out the road really from Limerick Track. And there's a lovely little hill there in Ballingarry. It's called Knockfear, a beautiful scenic place. It's quite high. It's a tough walk, and I was out. Should
we start the Irish music in the background here, Tommy? You're going to clap it or something.
I was out walking I was out walking one day, and I was heading up the hill, and I met the Scanlon family out with their greyhounds going up the hill, and I said, "Now I know why you're winning so much in Limerick when you see those dogs going up the hill." But they're fantastic, and they're a fantastic family, and another bit like the Creed's dog, Park Blake, another homebred greyhound as well. So fantastic, and well done to them. And hopefully that Ballyedel and Raleigh, or Rowley, should we say, should go a long way in the competition today.
Tommy, no surprise to you?
I think he's an improved dog since the Laurels. Even though he was dropped back to, was it A1 or Mini Open the previous week? That was a fine run.
Mini Open, yeah.
Yeah, Mini Open. And I think this was a better run again. I think he's a dog that's improving. You know, there's a little bit more to go to be considered a contender for outright honours, but he's definitely going in the right direction. I do think he's better. I certainly think he's better now than he was in the Laurels. And he was unlucky to be knocked out, maybe a little bit touch unlucky to get a real strong dog behind him to touch him off for a place in the semi-final with the Laurels. So, he's a really smart dog.
He was short-headed that night, was he, October 9th?
Yeah, Brogan Highway, he caught him in the line.
Okay. Ballyard and Raleigh, that's 6 wins from 21, but as you say, he's probably a dog that's really just developed, progressed in recent times, and I suppose competing against the very best, he's probably lifted his own game. And he's in the draw for the second round of he was in the draw. He has his heat now. The form of his Mini Open success stood up because Bling Bling Paul went on to win one of the later heats of the round, and well housed in the fence. That was the key to success. He pushed the whole field out of his way, said, "It's my turn now," found himself clear into the back straight, and a good winner for John Meehan in Newmarket on Fergus, Joe.
Yeah, John Meehan he's local to the track as well. For the Clare people, I guess Limerick would be their local track. And John Meehan is very, very shrewd greyhound man, so it's fantastic to see him have the success. And I know he was 10-1, but perhaps it was a hot heat. You know, you had Pierno, you had Rural Star, Boyle Sports Bingo, but you know, he went out and he did his job well. And 29.94 was a nice run, and as a greyhound who should certainly progress as the weeks go on.
He's a dog that's always been sort of on my radar. I actually backed him up at a big price the other night, just for pennies now, to be brutally honest, just from the draw, because it was a heat where Pierno and Rural Star seemed to dominate the market, but we know what they're both capable of, but yet we know exactly what they generally do. They generally miss the kick, fly into the opening corner, and I don't know who I saw it before, but I remember hearing a very shrewd man. The quickest way to the poorhouse is by backing dogs that are slow starters to fly into the corner, because they don't clear the trouble, they get involved in the trouble. And that's exactly what happened on the evening. Had both of them or either of them broken level, they'd have gone around in front. But as it is, they missed the kick, find the traffic. Thought Boyle Sports Bingo ran well in defeat. Vigorous Jim, who'd been very slowly in the stride, was left second. But I thought Boyle Sports Bingo found all sorts of traffic. He's been running very well again. He's September 17, great old veteran for Liam and John Boyle and Paul Hennessy. He's into the next round. I'm going to race through the heats because we have a lot of ground to cover. Lads, if you want to talk about anything, stop me, okay? So the opening heat on Saturday night, Gort Kelly-Nester. Again, we've spoken. Don't start, Tommy. We've spoken ad nauseum about Gort Kelly-Nester and how talented and how consistent this greyhound is. But for Andy Murray, it would have been a very, very special and sweet success with Gort Kelly-Nester yet again. 29.86, just got to the corner in front, skipped around. Ballymacmurlin caught the eye, Tommy. Not the first Liam Dowling trained greyhound we'll be speaking about. We have spoken of in this nature. Not a great starter. Big down the back. Doesn't find an awful lot up the home straight. He's like an absolute ringer for Ballymacfairwin a bit. I've often said, even on this podcast, that I think he's a dog where the penny will drop at some stage. That was his 18th run the other night. I wanted to drop pretty shortly. I think he's a dog with unlimited ability. He's massive down the back.
Yeah, and I like you say he's a ringer for Ballymacfairwin. I just don't think Ballymacfairwin is at his very best yet, because Ballymacfairwin does stay when it's all right with him, whatever, you know what I mean? I don't know. So yeah, but he is a bit of a ringer at the moment. Did I mention about Gert Kelly Nestor getting knocked out of a competition in Cork? No.
No. Don't start now, you.
I've long since forgiven that dog. I've long since forgiven him. He actually ran the first two bends very, very well the other night, I thought. I was quite impressed with that. Just go back for 1 second. Rural Star. You were talking about, how himself and Pierno missed the kick and show pace up. Rural Star for a dog with 27.94 in Shelburne Park just doesn't feel like the finished article yet. I think we might get it yet. I'm still holding out a bit of hope that somewhere maybe 3 or 4 months into next year that it all might take, and all of a sudden you'll see a dog doing it week in, week out, and I think we'll have something special if that happens. Maybe it won't, maybe it will, but I still hold out a bit of hope, and I can be quite negative with dogs because I tend to look at them as from a punter side point of view, particularly when I'm coming on this show. That I like to, you're trying to point people in the right direction. It can come across as negative about people's dogs. It's not really meant to be that. It's more to kind of prevent punters falling for traps, as I would see them. Like, you know what I mean? Like just from experience over the years of backing plenty of losers. I go back to Gert Kelly Nestor. I like the run. I don't know how you're going to win a ledger from out there unless he finds a little bit extra early pace, but there was nothing wrong. So Ballymacmurlin showed huge pace. Got up inside him at the third bend, did he?
He didn't quite get up inside him, but he was there challenging on the third bend. Yeah.
They were almost neck and neck, if I remember rightly. And as you say, if it all clicked with Ballymacmurlin, he'd be a player in the outright market.
Yeah, he was 84 pounds in his trial. He has had a bit of a layoff. He may come on for the run. He may strengthen up again. Sheriff Ramwell in third. Joe, he's a dog I wouldn't mind keeping in, like, from a commentator's hat. It's easy to commentate a dog called Sheriff, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And he's another actually greyhound with local connections from Newcastle West. So I think it's a syndicate that owns him. So great to see him progress onto the second round. Ballymacmurlin, well, we've seen his class back in Tralee. I think it was a 29.55. He won the Race of Champions first semi-final. Yeah, and he like, if things click for Merlin, he's one with massive potential, but he's a greyhound that needs it all to go his own way, really, doesn't he?
Yeah, no problem about that. Sheriff, as you mentioned, he was A1 going into the contest, ran a fine race in defeat like that. On to the next seat, we mentioned Ballyeal and Raleigh. Fine display from the front. Kilbannon Psycho, she's just a lovely, lovely lady. Perfect on that fence. She's determined, she's dogged, she's strong. She's probably not going to win a ledger, but she's just one of those where if she was on your inside in trap one, I think that's her box. When she's on the fence, she's always thereabouts plugging. And back in third, bar Joe Lad, tied up a little bit. Listen, he is a 28-25 in Shelburne Park, and the Lily White Assassin tells me he's quite strong on the bunny. Getting to the front is generally his problem. Well, it wasn't the problem the other night. He did a 278. That was the fastest of the opening round. Am I right in saying that, Joe?
Yeah, it sounds like a 278 is phenomenal. That's really top class. And if you can do that in a 550 in Limerick, your chances there you're going to be leading up strong.
Absolutely flew out. Fast Fit Paddy is just a good, honest greyhound for Declan McDonough, John Quinn, and Paul Horrig, who's been in the news of late. Tommy, of course, the Laurels winning owner. He has a nice one in Fast Fit Paddy. We've known that for quite some time. He's just a dog that does everything right. He's not the fastest at the corner. He's not the fastest down the back, and he doesn't finish like a train. He just does all three well, and as a result, he was in the lovely pitch down the back straight the other evening. Rahil Podge drifted off the opening corner, led into the back, but Fast Fit Paddy took him, went on to score. Second, Beach Avenue, not quite firing on all cylinders of late, but did run on strongly. An encouraging win at Limerick the previous week. He was second, and back in third is Fiora Knoll. I think Fiora Knoll is another one we can put down to the he's going to be next year's dog. He's very fast, Tommy, just not doing it at boxes.
This is like a monologue.
We have a lot of ground to cover here.
No, I'm quite happy. Yeah, what does your betting guru say about dogs who break well but don't get into the bend? Like Beach Avenue. How quickly will they put you in the poorhouse? He's
Touché.
Yeah, he's no. I wasn't trying to be too smart about that. But he's Beach Avenue actually broke close to him in front. Look, it wasn't wasn't a bad heat. It wasn't a really strong heat, but it wasn't a bad heat. Beach Avenue would just keep doing what Beach Avenue does. He'll find a way to qualify, in fairness to the dog. Pastor Paddy is a good, solid dog. I think you were fair to him at the start. You've known he was a good dog all along. It was a nice performance. He didn't fly from traps either, but ran very, very well.
Back in third spot was Fiora Knoll. That's the dog I actually asked you about.
Well, I couldn't remember what you were talking about. Ian. I started to nod off there at one stage.
You're not the only one, Tommy.
Joe's too busy looking himself in the mirror, looking at his little blonde tips.
I fancy one time only for the final Laurels.
Okay, fair enough.
Sorry, I'm only catching up in here. Sorry.
Oh God, we'll never hear the end of that one. Joe, Fiora Knoll, no question, he's plenty of pace. He's going to have to improve his starting.
Yeah, absolutely. You need it in competitions like this to be a serious player. You need that early pace, and I mean, look at his trial the previous week. That 28-19. This Fiora Knoll can really move. I was absolutely delighted for Declan McDonough there from Clare. Is it Clare or Galway he's from? But he's a very, very shrewd trainer, this Declan McDonough. He's a very nice kennel built up lately, and great to see Fast Fit Paddy coming in at 29.75 was a good run. And Beach Avenue, as you said, remember the final of the Open 600 in Children? Will we ever forget when he came from the clouds and was beating two short heads? He's just a great greyhound. He's just one of these exciting greyhounds that will always add excitement and drama to the race. And as you said, he'll do enough to keep qualifying. And if things go his way, it has a big pot in him. He's just there's so many big names and the top class greyhounds in this. It's just very exciting, like, isn't it?
Okay, very exciting altogether, Joe. Moving on to Heat 10. We mentioned Heat 10. Park Blake, stunning, explosive boy, perfectly satisfying in second, and sentimental lad, my eye catcher of the opening round in third. On to Heat 11. We've mentioned this, Scooby Princess, Price's Jet, and back in third, Hazel Hill Hazard. Heat 12. Again, lower run, we've mentioned Jacob Tashelek back in third, was Ballyard Taylor. Do you know anything about Ballyard Taylor? He's a Tralee raider, Joe, but he had trials around Limerick.
Yeah, it was 12-1 the other night, owned and trained by Michael Daly. It was a good run. Has 29.90, I think, during the 550 competition.
The Lee Strand, obviously, yeah.
The Lee Strand, yeah, had a 29.90 run there and came from behind to do it. So, I mean, it's a good run. Sometimes these greyhounds, because they're owner trained, sometimes they slip in under the radar, and because we don't see a big name or big trainer's name or massive flashy runs, they can slip in under the radar. And I think it was a good run for Ballyard Taylor to do what he did.
He's not a big greyhound. He's only 65 pounds. He was 65 pounds in his trial. He's only had the 5 races prior to Saturday night. So clearly he's had maybe a few issues, but maybe a dog who has shown enough ability in the past to suggest that there's better to come from him in the coming weeks. As you say, one of these improvers, a dog that's fresh into the competition. Yeah,
he's been off since the Lee Strand, which is back in May. So, you have a good number of months off. So obviously he's had his problems, but to do a run like that on his first return from a layoff, this Ballyard Taylor certainly looks a nice prospect for sure.
Heat 13 went to one time only, who we mentioned, the Laurels champion, getting off to a good start. Stories Pee-wee, the real powerhouse in second, and Minor Droopy back in third. Heat 14. This was an interesting affair. Monrod Thunder just got the better of Cumleo into the opening corner. It was a case of whichever got around the corner in front was probably going to go on to win it. Cumleo, once not leading, and he was sort of finding a little bit of trouble getting room to race with 3 Monrod Thunder himself. Probably wanted the same racing line. It allowed Minon Flyer and Tyrap Luke to capitalise. They got into chasing behind Monrod Thunder. 3 nice displays in this heat. I think there's better to come from all 3, Tommy.
Yeah, well, I think what happened for Cumleo was, apart from the fact that he was trying to move in as well, when he was denied the run and going down the back, within a matter of strides, 2 dogs went by him, one either side of him, and that kind of finished Cumleo's run. But Minon Fire and Tyrap Luke, they both showed nice pace to take that position. You're taking up a dog who was fast timed, and they say it's only halfway through the race. So
into the third bend, you would have given both a strong claim. But Monrod Thunder, in fairness to him, kept on rolling.
Yeah, he's hit a bit of form. I think he ran particularly well on Laurel's final night, being Graham Jet in Curraheen. So he's obviously struck a bit of form, and dog can go a long way. Again, he's not on my short list, but I expect to be talking about him for a few more weeks.
Yeah, Joe, of these 3, was there one that caught the eye in particular, or was it one of those heats where you just consigned like 3 nice dogs? Let's move forward.
Well, Monrod Thunder had a 28.39 at Chilburn. He's a consistent kind of a greyhound, and 29.83. Perhaps probably not one of the more likely winners of the competition, and probably not. There's probably nothing there jumping out of my shortlist. But great to see Tyrep Luke as well qualify. Another one for the Carroll family from Brewery, another local greyhound. I know he was 2020 the other night, but it'll mean a lot to them to get to have a run of the ledger to get to second round is great for them. Great to see locals doing well as well. I'm turning into a bit of a Barry Drake here.
That's all right. Listen, we that's why we have you on. You know what I mean? Like these competitions, be it Ledger or Laurels, it's all about the top class greyhounds, but it's all about the top class greyhounds from the local area as well. You know what I mean? It makes such a difference to the event when you have local runners in it. Minnow Flyer, while not quite local, Ger Burke would have been travelling down from Galway with this fellow Minnow Flyer. He's been a regular scorer at Limerick in recent weeks. Came into the contest in flying form and ran well in defeat. He's only beaten a length in 29.83, with things probably not going all that well for him. He has a 29.53 in his card at Limerick, 29.54 as well. So clearly very talented dog.
Yeah, beat some nice types. Beat Medusa there by 6 lengths. Beat that Roaming Mystery as well, doing 29.77. So as you said, he's consistent. And one thing about the Ledger I noticed as well the other night, the dogs who experience around the track, it means an awful lot. It can mean a length or two going into the bend, even up the back straight. It's fantastic to have that experience around the track. And even if they're not the classiest of dogs, or even on raw ability, mightn't even be the best. But if you have that local track experience, it can, especially in Limerick. Limerick's a tough track. It's a stiff track. That bit of track experience around Limerick can have a massive part to play.
Yeah, those opening two bends, Tommy. Dogs sort of first run or two around the place, not get lost as such, but seem to feel like they need to use the space. They drift off a bit at parts, but you'll see that coming through the rest of the Ledger, that they'll improve for each run if they survive.
Even though it doesn't tally with the dogs that run on Thursday night, I thought there was a bit of that. Just dogs that were maybe returning to the track that had been there before, even were just kind of having a look again, kind of just negotiating the first two bends. Because as I said earlier on, I felt it was hard work for some of the dogs to win on Thursday night, even though they did win. And on the clock and on the form, reading it looks fine. But watching the race, it didn't look quite as comfortable. So yeah, like even I was looking at the dog earlier on, Ballyard Taylor, were talking about to finish third. I just thought he was looking, broke very well and was kind of eyeing up the bend from about 50 yards out, kind of, you know what I mean? Kind of wondering where he's going. Then all of a sudden the dog got up inside him and he just kind of lost position and then flew home again. It was quite an encouraging performance. I don't know where he'll go in terms of the Ledger, but it was it was an encouraging performance. Yeah, I'd say you will find a lot of improvement if you haven't been around. The Fiora dog we were talking about as well, there's a dog that I thought, I know you're saying about lack of experience, but if you notice him going to the bend, he kind of moved off a little bit, and then he moved to go inside at the bend. And he just didn't seem to know. And maybe that was just dogs all around him.
Listen, he was a greyhound in Shelburne Park, where I still don't know where he wants to be. I thought he was inside one night, perfectly housed, and he's drifting out to the middle, finding a dog, just bumping. He's a dog that'll find his way in time. And we've seen how fast his brother is. So just don't rule him out if you're an old dog, because I've no doubt there is a start in him. And it would no surprise me if he did a 29.40 some night in the Ledger.
And the reason why we're not talking him up and saying that God, he could have a chance in the Ledger, the reason we're not doing that is because even though we might expect a run like that, on what we've seen so far, we don't expect it every week.
Yeah, and where's he going to get a chance to, because it's so strong, the opposition.
Exactly. It's deep. Okay. It's deep, which is great. Yeah. I did we watched it last week, but we had Dragon Jet ran some race, didn't he, for a dog that had good sprint form. I know it was kind of a Franklin of the form from Monroe Thunder. That was a nice run, but Russian Glory did nothing wrong in front, got out in front, and but Dragon Jet for a dog, I wouldn't expect him to be really battling on as hard as he did. I like that effort.
Yeah, I was going to say we'll skip 15 because we've already mentioned Blingby Paul, a fine winner for John Meehan, Boyle Sports Bingo, and Vigorous Jim second and third. Yeah, we're getting to that final heat. Russian Glory is a dog I think an awful lot of. I think they like him as well in the kennel. I'm not sure about the middle. I know he was racing from 60. If he was 3 or 4, probably wouldn't be as much of an issue. I think he's nearly an inside seed myself. To get across the way he did was very impressive, though, Joe. He showed a nice turn early into the corner. He only did a 290, but there's no question he's capable of better. 17.49 and a 5.41, but there's definitely better to come from him. Not getting away from them up the home straight. Drahan Jet did show big pace to get back involved after, sort of missed the kick so much, showed good early speed, held up on the bend. no extra up the run in, but a fine racing defeat. This Global Prima suffering its first defeat in its fourth outing. A nice display by that one, but I think Russian Glory is the dog to take out of the race.
Yeah, and we touched on this a while ago, and Tommy touched on it as well. He's Russian Glories fits into this category of the more unexposed type. I think he'd only 5 races prior coming into this competition, and it's great to see
that was his fifth on Saturday.
Yeah, exactly, his fifth race. So fitting into that kind of unexposed type, right? On paper, 29.91. It doesn't jump out to you at the clock, but if you look at the other categories to look at as well, there's also the last race of the night. So come on, 10 and a half, 10. It's not going to be the fastest. And the fact that it's only his fifth race, it was his first race around Limerick. Now, of course, Graham Holland probably had him trialed a couple of times around Limerick, but his first race around Limerick. So, and I mean, it was his first 550 as well. So, I mean, I definitely agree with you. He's definitely one to take out of the race, and he's kind of like a greyhound you wouldn't mind being on a small few quid on at long odds. You know, that kind of way to perhaps progress throughout the competition for sure.
November 19, well, Tommy, just, it's one of those where there is improvement there. We know that.
Well, the night he was behind fifth, behind Deadly Cavani, he didn't break particularly well. He actually showed pace to go right up inside Deadly Cavani at the third bend, literally right up inside him. That's fair running.
It was a hell of a run that night. I was actually disappointed with him the following night. He did 28.53 at Shelburne. I thought like the way he ran that night, I said this is going to be a 28.20 run, and it didn't quite happen. Didn't again pull away as much as I'd have expected him to, but just think there's so much ability there, and I think that when the penny does drop, and don't get me wrong, he's won 3 of his 5. He's done nothing wrong. He's shown massive pace, but I just think there's a next level to this dog. You
are worried about the draw, is it?
Listen, I don't know. The other night, he's certainly edging in all the way into the opening corner. I haven't seen his draw yet. We'll race through the draw in a moment.
Like he ran out of 3 one night in Shelburne. He went up as straight as a gun barrel. So it's not suggesting that he wants trap 1, but then again, you could be right. I think it's going to be difficult unless you've got exceptional early pace, and maybe he has actually. Maybe that was the first sign that he can really break. Maybe unless you have exceptional early pace, I don't know how he cleared them into the bend.
Yeah, no question about it. He's a very fast guy. He's in trap 1 the next night. He is an inside seed. Great minds and all that. If he moves off now, am I gonna get the blame, or is it too late for me to get the blame?
I'd be inclined to blame you.
Drehan Jet was seconds in second, Tommy. There was a time he looked like going to be a serious sprinter. Then you think he's going to stay 525 yards. He's going to be a serious 525 yard dog, and now 550 yards. He's just a really nice overall greyhound, but given his abilities, he's going to need to be hitting the lids, because he's a dog that probably does have to lead in top company to win. He's
had 22 runs and he's been in the first 20 times. He's a dog who if you're looking back at him, and what you say is 100% right. He looks like he's going to be a really nice sprinter, and he looks like he's going to be a really nice 525 dog. If you look at him, he doesn't lead all that often. For a dog we talked about that potentially being a good sprinter, and yet he finds a way to get into the frame. So look at he's not going to win Ledger in my opinion, and unless he finds consistent trapping and that he can actually go and lead around. But I won't be surprised if we're talking about him for a while, because he is a good dog and he is improving and he has a great attitude.
His record suggests he's not a one-trick pony by any stretch. If he doesn't lead, he's not going to throw in the towel like some early pacers would. He's just a good, solid, hard-chasing greyhound that has the ability to put in a big run every now and again.
No matter what level of greyhound you own, and my own is pretty ordinary, you want that attitude. You want that you want your dog to no matter what happens, the little bit of adversity you'll find on a regular basis, you want to go and have the attitude to kind of overcome it, or at least deal with it. He has a smashing attitude. I say I won't be surprised if he goes deep. I will be surprised if he wins. Later.
Joe, Drehan Jet and Global Prima, anything to say about them?
Yeah, you can't ask for much more than that. 22 runs and 20 times in the first 3. He's a wonderful servant of a greyhound. We've seen him in Dundalk. He did 21.05. That's a phenomenal run around Dundalk. I think he did 28.31 around Tralee as well. So he's a real model of consistency. And as you said, I'd probably agree, Tommy, probably he's not jumping out to me as one of the more likely winners of a Ledger, but is a dog who could keep qualifying and, could be thereabouts on the premises. Global Prima, he was 6-4 favourite the other night. He's owned by Cindy as well. Pat Buckley is training him. He looks a nice type. Showed a bit of early. Could we see him winning a Ledger? But, a debate you could have as well. But look, he's probably fits into that unexposed kind of category as well. You know, he had some nice runs around Clonmel.
He certainly fits into the unexposed category. It was just only his fourth start the other night, but it's again, you can't really judge him. Beg your pardon. You can't judge her purely on last night's form, because it was her first run really in top open class company, and she certainly wasn't shamed in defeat.
Yeah, and that 28:39 trial as well the week before the Ledger as well. That's a really good run as well, you know. So it would be nice to see her progress throughout the competition. I'll put it this way: it probably wouldn't come as a surprise if she was to progress and maybe do a 29:50 or 60 run over, you know, the latter stages of the Ledger if she's still there. But had been unbeaten kind of coming into Saturday night, so, you know, done what was asked of her to date really. And I suppose to qualify the first round of the Ledger and that kind of company, it's a good run. It's a very decent run.
Be small bit disappointed with her draw for next week, because I think she's the type of one that could progress significantly. Like I said, that was only her fourth run. She showed lovely early pace. She probably showed an inclination to move in towards the rails. She has Fast Fit Paddy inside her next week. Ballyard Taylor is in 3. Jacob Tashdalek in 4. Barjo Lad 5. Gert Kelly Nestor 6. I mean, that's a fairly hot heat. You won't get away with much there. She has to clear Fast Fit Paddy to show her best. I would like to see her qualify, because I think there's serious potential in her.
I'll tell you what we'll do. We will race through these heats very quickly. I know we're going on a bit here, but the opening heat, one time only, and Park Blake, Explosive Boy. You wouldn't be disappointed in 3 of them in a final. Gumbo Choman added to the mix. Gert McCurry rose ran well in defeat. Bling Bling Paul showed great determination in the opening corner. It's probably going to, stand out as the 3 big ones. One time only, Park Blake and Explosive Boy. So much going to depend on the early yards, Tommy.
Yeah, well, this is beautiful. This is in a sense. This tells us what Park Blake is or where we might go, because you've got one time only. In 2, you've got Explosive Boy in 5. You've got Gumbo Showman even out there. Let's not rule them out. You've Bling Bling Paul in 1 heat. It's a red hot race. I don't know what I'd pick as the winner. We look at it. If you asked us 3 weeks ago, we'd say Explosive Boy was an absolute certainty. Since then, one time only has won the laurels, semi-finals and finals, and then Park Blake has gone and beaten Explosive Boy. So in the space of a few weeks, this might be, even though one time only has been busy recently, he hasn't been busy over this course of the year, so he's a dog that can still improve. Park Blake can obviously improve. Explosive Boy can find his top form. God, I don't know. I've been trying to take on Explosive Boy in the outright market. That's what I've been trying to do, because I think, Packy Foyle will do exactly what he's done in the past. He'll get this dog to a final again, because he's brilliant at doing it, and hopefully the dog may be fresh enough to go and win a final again. He has had a good long season, and he's been a terrific dog. But this, as we said, will probably come to real sharpness, and dogs that can build to something special at the very, very end of the competition. So I'm kind of expecting, if I want to take him on, and I think I've probably taken him on in everything, which is probably a bit unfair on the dog, because he is terrific. But even next week now, he can't afford to be too much below his very best. Really can't. Would you fancy him an absolute certainty to qualify for that on Saturday night?
I think he'll qualify. Yeah.
Would you think will he win?
Well, we have to find out. What price? What price will he be, Tom? What price will he be?
Joe, put your head in the block here. Come on, is he going to win this heat or not? Don't mind Ian.
It's a massive test from that kind of draw. That kind of draw, and having Park Blake on his inside. And it's just like you've your Laurels winner there as well, one time only. That Kurt McCrahy Rose, another local dog owned by the Kelly family, put in a good shift last week, done 29.77. It's a cracking heat. It's going to be a big test. It's going to be, from that kind of draw, it's going to be a massive test.
We're going to learn a huge amount. And look at, please don't get me wrong. I want the dog to qualify, and I want the best dogs to keep qualifying, and I want some new dogs to join the top dogs, so that we have a mix in the final, which is the old and the new, so we can build towards next year as well. I want him to qualify, but I tell you, it's a good test, and maybe he'll leave Park Blake in the halfpenny place. He'll go and pop out and do what he's done in the past and do a huge run, and all of a sudden Park Blake will say maybe that was a flash in the pan. Or
maybe we don't know what Park Blake will do. He might edge inwards from trap 4. We know Explosive Boy has won from out that far in the past, and again, one time only in the mix. It's just going to be a hell of a race. Certainly not to be missed. That's due off. It's the 4th race in the card according to the advanced card at present, but that could change, of course. On to the second heat. Dear Jet Sydney, I'm expecting a big run from him, but a wide open contest, nothing that really jumps out at you at very short prices. Isn't that, Tommy?
No, I don't think Deirdre Sidney's going to win a Ledger at this stage of his career, personally.
Okay. Joe,
probably prove me wrong, but I don't think so at this stage.
He could well do. Joe, on to the next seed. Scarty Yank, after his heroics in the opening round, is drawn out in trap 5. He is a middle seed. I think I'd prefer to see him in more of a trap 3-4 box, but from trap 5, he's certainly a big player, but he's by no means a certainty, lower on. So impressive in the opening round. Boyle Sports Bingo, Ballymac Merlin, Ballymac Belvolt, Fion's Emirate out on the outside probably does need a little bit of luck, but could have room to race.
Yeah, I think I really, really like Scarty Yank. And I know it's a long way off, but if I had to shortlist a couple of dogs to go a long way in the competition, I really like Scarty Yank. I liked him since the Kirby when he won it at 28-31. I remember interviewing Gary Deneen, who was training him at the time, and the connections saw so much from back then. And he hasn't been very harshly campaigned this year. He's one of the more fresher dogs coming into this competition, and I think Scarty Yank has a massive part to play in this year's Ledger. From the draw, I probably agree with you. Maybe more middle might suit 3 or 4, but I think he's a cut above probably the rest of. I know lower on, and then you have the 2 Ballymac dogs. Well, I think that Scarty Yank just has that extra bit of class, and I'd expect him to pull out the bag, and I definitely expect him to win that thing.
Yeah, I'll hold my judgment on Scarty Yank until I see him in that really hot races where there's real early speed against him, because he's a good starter. I just don't know if he has the real early speed to match them at the very top level. Tommy, I can see shaking his head up there.
No, I'm perfectly fine with that. I think it's not a bad heat for him.
No, it's not a bad heat. No, there's not a massive amount of early speed in the race.
No, I think Ballymac Belvolt is a seriously fast dog. Belvolt as well as Merlin. They're two. Belvolt missed it last week. I just forget about that run. He has big runs on his card, and I think he's capable of being involved in any race he's in. This is a good test. If you say he probably has the early pace to lead here, hasn't he? Scarty Yank.
Yes, he probably does. Once he hits the lids,
I think he leads and probably makes all in that heat. And you'd have to kind of go strong at this stage, because looking at last week, you think that. Well, Ballymac Merlin isn't far away from his very best. Ballymac Belvolt may or may not be. Maybe needs another run, but they're 2 fast dogs. They'll pose a good test. If Scarty Yank can't pop out and beat these, he's not going to win Ledger, in the sense that I think if you can't beat them this week, maybe you might beat them in a week's time. But I think if you can't beat them this week, he won't win Ledger.
Okie dokie. Heat 4. Jacob Tashadlek jumps out from me, but he is surrounded by a couple of impressive heat winners, Ballyelan Raleigh and Bar Joe Ladd. Bar Joe Ladd in trap 5 did edge inwards last week. Worth noting, Jacob Tashadlek will want to be on his toes this week as opposed to that 305. You throw in Fastest Paddy, the aforementioned Global Prima, and Gord Kelly Nestor on the outside. It's just a hell of a good race. I'll go with Jacob Tashadlek, but again, there wouldn't be any really surprising result here.
You're probably not Ballyard Raleigh, are you? The poor old Scanlon family.
Don't start now. Don't start. Don't be backing me into a corner. He is as much. In fact, he's in the top 3 in the betting. But I think if Jacob Tashadlek hits it, he wins. Simple as. Joe, don't start now. The 2 of you. You're awful, man.
Ian, you need to take leave out of my book and start giving every dog a mention, and just give every dog a rub. That way you won't make so many enemies. Because remember this time last year it was the same with Cash Ready. Yeah, Cash. You're getting yourself in a
Cash Ready.
You said he'd no chance to come up. You're getting yourself in a lot of hot water there. You need to take leave out of my book. Just give him.
I have not said one dog has no chance this week, and I'm certainly not saying about Ballyard and Raleigh. I think he's a massive chance. I'm just saying I think Jacob Tashadlek wins the heats if he hits.
And I haven't said it. I haven't said to my no chance.
Not yet. Moving on to Heat 5, getting away from that one because you're getting me in trouble. Sing Along Sally's in trap 2. If she hits the lids, she clears one sweep the yard. She's going to be hard enough to pass Stories Pee-wee, Beach Avenue, both be flying home. Hazel Hill Hazard and Minder Droopy will be looking to go up well in the middle. Intriguing heat. Again, nothing that you can say will certainly score, but there are 3 or 4 big guns here, Tommy.
No, I would think Sing Along Sally's is certainly looking at that heat. The makeup is perfect. I think Beach Avenue and Stories Pee-wee, I'm not sure how they're going to sort themselves out on the run to the bench. Yes, one's a middle and one's a wide, but Beach Avenue will move in as it goes towards the bench. Stories Pee-wee is a good strong dog, but he has a bit of early pace just inside him. Sweep the yard, was lackluster last week. I think that's probably fair to say, and probably the same in the Laurels final, although I'd forgive that because the conditions were very bad in the rain and wind-wise, and he missed the kick completely. But I think Signal and Sally won't get a better opportunity to pop out and lead all.
Joe, you'd be fancying Sally?
Yeah, I looking at that heat, I think it's hers to lose. It's okay. You know, she has her draw. She should get to defence pretty promptly. You know, they will be probably staying on well behind her, like the Stories, Peewee and Beach Avenue. But I think, look, if she gets out in front, you would want to be doing a massive clock to come from behind Signal and Sally to come and beat her. I think it's hers to lose, and I'd probably expect Stories, Peewee and Beach Avenue to qualify as well.
Heat 6, another quality packed race. They're featuring some cracking heats. This Ballymac Wild is the only heat winner, and of course, hot favourite to win last year's Ledger. He is racing from Trap 4. He will certainly start favourite, but he want to be doing things right. Romeo Magico, we know exactly what he's capable. He is in Trap 1. I think he prefers slightly off the fence. Fiora Noel is very fast, although just hasn't really put it together yet. Kilbannon Psychos in 3. All for the best to be powering home, and so too will Ballyard Taylor. There's better to come from him. An intriguing heat, Tommy, but Ballymac Wild is the one to beat.
Oh, without question. I think he's quite a sharp price in that heat. Ballyard Taylor will be interesting. He has to clear all for the best early. He is not a big dog at 66 pounds, so he's got an 84 pound dog inside. If he doesn't clear it in the first few yards, I fear for his competition. I think he'll be out. I hope he isn't, because he's only had 6 runs and he can improve. Romeo Magico doesn't really operate out of Trap 1. If you're back in Romeo Magico, and I have fallen from a couple of times, you're nearly closing your eyes and just hoping that the commentary calls him in front.
First 5 yards are his race, simple as.
Yeah, no, I think, look, Ballymac Wild is a superb dog. He's in brilliant form. He carried on from the Laurels, to the Ledger, and I don't see why he won't carry on again. I think he'll pop out and make off.
Joseph?
It all depends what Romeo Magico turns up. You know, remember Limerick earlier on the year, he does a 28-18 run. Phenomenal. Then the following week, he just didn't looked a different greyhound the following week. So it all depends what Romeo Magico turns up. He
showed enough in his early races, and given his colouring and his racing style, that, you know, there was a touch of Claire's Rocket about him. Just hasn't happened. It hasn't quite developed for him now, you know.
It all depends which Romeo Magico turns up. If he turns up in that kind of 28-18 form, he's going to be bang there. Probably I'd side with the likes of Ballymac Wild, the more consistent type, and you know, the 29-61 run last week was a very, very solid run, and probably enough to suggest that he's well good enough to win the seat. I really like All for the Best. You know, he's a top class dog, and he stays so strong. And he's given the HDJ Syndicate such a fantastic year with him, and it'd be great to see him qualify as well. And I remember him in action in Limerick in the start of the year as well. And he just stays on so strongly, so genuine, so consistent. So yeah, he's probably one for the shortlist as well to qualify out of this seat.
I've just noticed that my printer printed these in the wrong order.
Yeah.
That's actually heat 1. Anyway, Thanks for calling me up on that one, lads. Heat 2. Where were we? Price's Jet's out in Trap 6. Scooby Princess and Price's Jet meet for the second week running. Throw in Monroe Thunder and Rush and Glory. The talented Burgess Cassian, even the strong running Good Times again. Another cracking heat, this one. Heat 2, not Heat 7. Scooby Princess is going to be relatively short, but she want to be doing things right. Rush and Glory has the draw on the inside. Monroe Thunder can go up well. Scooby Princess probably not going to lead around the corner here, Joe.
Yeah, but she's just such a massive engine that you'd expect looking at that heat, you'd put your life in her qualifying. I would say Rush and Glory, that, as we said, the more unexposed type. I'd expect Rush and Glory to come on an awful lot from last week's run. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a 29-60 or 29-70 victory in him for sure. Good times again for my old pal Jerry Griffin. He's a consistent sort, and you know, he's September 19. There could be a better run in him. Probably not one of the more, not a greyhound you probably fancy to go all the way in the Ledger, but Price's Jet as well out in 6, another very, very consistent type. But if I had to pick ones to qualify, probably Scooby Princess, and I'd expect Rush and Glory to put in, if could potentially in my eyes improve 3 or 4 lengths from last week, and maybe one I'd side with, maybe to even win the heat.
Tommy, 1-4-6 the qualifiers. What do you fancy in the heat?
I don't think Scooby Princess is that short in the heat, because I do think Monroe Thunder will pop out. He's hit form. He's hit form. He's only had 13 races as well. I mean, he's the type of dog that can improve a little bit. I don't think he's going to win a Leisure, as we spoke about already. Rushing Glory is interesting. 29.53 in Shelburne the previous week, 29.91 last week in Limerick. Can improve. It'll be interesting to see what he does from the inside. Scooby Princess isn't that short. She can be beaten, but I don't think she can be knocked out.
Okie dokie. Moving on to the final heat of the round. And here is, I'm going to nominate him as my bet of the round. Sentimental Lad. I'm going to take a chance at this fella. I think he's very well housed the outside. Obviously, Glengar Bale did return to some form last week. The presence of Ballymacart, not ideal for him on his inside. And I think Tyrap Luke will edge inwards. Vigorous Jim, probably want to improve his starting, but I think he might edge inwards too. But I think Sentimental Lad is a good draw on the outside. I think he'll represent value.
I'm going to fancy Ballymacart quite strongly here. I think she needed the run badly the last day. She ran well, very well. In fact, I thought in defeat. I think she needed that run. She'll step up nicely. She'll certainly lead Razzle Dazzle Annie early. She'll probably hold her line against Glengar Bale, and if she does that, I think she'll win. I think she'll stay on too well, do too good a clock for the rest of them. I'd actually nominate her as a bet now.
Okay, Joe, what's your pick?
Yeah, I would agree with Tommy to an extent. I mean, Ballymacart, we know what kind of runs are in her, what kind of runs she's done, and she's a phenomenal bitch. She did 29.93, I think, last Saturday, and you know on bare form, if she's heading to her peak, she's certainly better than 29.93 for the 550. She's probably more of a 29.50, 60 type even, perhaps even better. So I'd probably side with Tommy. She'll come on an awful lot from the run. Would I put my life there to win? No. I think Glengar Bale, if he can reproduce his form from last week, Glengar Bale, there's probably more in the tank. And as you said, he looked a rejuvenated greyhound last week, I think, anyway. So I'd probably side with Glengar Bale for this one, but I'd have to agree with Tommy. I think Ballymacart is a massive, massive player here as well.
Well, that's it, lads. 16 heats reviewed, 8 heats previewed. You don't have to put your neck on the line. It's a bit early to perhaps make a solid choice. But Tom, if you were to pick one to go far in the Leisure, maybe win it, is there anything at a price or anything that you really catch the eye yet, or you want to let them have another week?
There are no prices that I can see.
Okay.
No, I don't. I want to take on the favourite. I want to oppose it, not because I dislike the dog or I don't think it's good enough to win Leisure.
Just at the prices.
It's a classic winner already, and there's no saying it won't be a classic winner again. But I think this is a really good Leisure. And as I said to you, you won't get away with much throughout the Leisure. Joe?
I definitely like Scarty Yank. Definitely like him. I think he's the profile of a greyhound who should go on and go a long way in this competition. Wouldn't be surprised to see him win it. I also like Rushing Glory. I think there's probably more in the tank there. But when you look down through the card of 48, there's about 10 or 15 of them you could pick that has massive credentials to go a long way in this competition. But if I had to shortlist two, probably them two. But what about you, Ian? Give us some there, because you always try to get off the hook here.
I went with Explosive Boy and Jacob Tashet. Like they're not inspiring choices, but they're proven. And I think they'll both come on for their opening round efforts. But of the dogs that ran in the opening round, I like the Rushing Glory dog, no question about that. And I think the Sentimental Lad dog. I think there's plenty better to come from him around Limerick. Just don't be surprised if he raised an eyebrow or two. But I think it's a competition that, while it is already taking shape, I think the last 24 could be really eye-catching. I think if you take the top 24 greyhounds out of this second round and put them into the quarterfinals, it's red hot. There's no room for error. I think there's a lovely mix of early speed, strong running greyhounds, and then big finishers. I think if we get a good mix of all three and maybe a few C's getting through, we're in for a really, really epic conclusion to this classic.
I think you've been fair to put in Sentimental Lad as a bet, maybe, unless you might have too much influence on it and people hear this and all of a sudden the price might be a bit shorter. But it could be a bit of value, as I say, in the heat. Even the heat, I'm not talking about maybe for the outright, because for the heat on Saturday night, I think actually it's probably, I do fancy Ballymacart. I have to say, I don't think she broke like she did. Like she could do, like she had been doing in Shelburne Park.
As you said, Deadly Destroyer was actually first to hit the ground.
Yeah,
she got there when he took the bump.
I definitely think she was a length off her best break in terms of taking another 7 spots off her sectional. That's what I think she can do, and that's why I think she can lead up the inside. And she has to lead Glengar Bale quickly. But I think she's just a sharp bitch. She's improving. She'll improve for that run. I don't think she's going to win a Leisure personally, but I do think I think she's capable of going maybe semi-final.
Gentlemen, a pleasure as always. We've got through a lot today. We spoke for quite a while. Before we go, I'd just like to mention Rossiach Kayla, the festival coming up on the 12th and 13th of November. Free entry to the various racetracks throughout the country. An occasion for us all to get back together, of course. Joe, you being a Gaelgore, you'd be able to tell us exactly what Rossiach Kayla means. Racing together, am I right?
Right, Ian, you're spot on. I'd say you weren't too slow to Irish yourself back in your day.
I tell you what, I am the epitome of Cúpla Focal. But that's it for Talking Dogs on this Monday. More details on Rossiach Kayla on Talking Dogs on the GRI website. Make sure you check it out. A great weekend, a great initiative. Get yourselves to the track. Let's create a real buzz at the tracks of Ireland. But for the moment, the Ledger is creating a real buzz. We thank our sponsors again, Matchbook Betting Exchange, for what is an unbelievable classic. More to come in the coming weeks. But that's it from us on this Talking Dogs on a Monday.